Forgive Me, Father is an Eldritch Horror documentary about my trip to visit my cousin in Boise, Idaho. The game opens up with you receiving your invitation to come meet your cousin. However, upon arriving, he is nowhere to be found, and the room has been trashed. All of a sudden, you hear a knock at the door. Fearing that this whole thing has been an IRS sting operation, you pick up a gun before answering. And given I haven't paid federal income tax since '83, it very well could be. You progress through the tutorial level, clearing out the potential feds that come in many shapes and sizes, such as man, woman, transgenderism, and funny red barrels. As you progress through the level, you pick up a felony stick and find your first save point. And my uncle. Don't ask about the knife. You also pick up a flashlight. The issue with the flashlight is while you have it up, you can't have your gun out. This will become very relevant later. After defeating level 1, you're introduced to a new enemy type, the Reddit admin. After defeating him, you're able to do what he could not, and go outside. Unfortunately, the real feds are here. One thing this game does really well is sound design. Like, certain enemies will make a sound to signal when they're nearby. This will often scare the shit out of me. After indulging in some good old-fashioned mindless violence, the state pastime of Idaho, you proceed out of the level. Level 3 is where you unlock your first ability, the Unholy Boof. This gives you a joint that when you smoke it, it summons a cursed demon sword that heals you as you slash enemies. After progressing further through the game and picking up some new weapons, I discover this game has a leveling system, which allows me to do things like taking one of Cthulhu's pubes and grafting it to my shotgun to make the bullets bounce. After having some fun on the rooftops, I jump into a dark basement. The strategy for these areas is to have your shotgun equipped whenever you're walking around with your flashlight. That way if you see anything, you can quickly drop the flashlight, blast it, and put it back up. Also, a great thing about the shotgun upgrade is you can clear a corner without actually turning it. After progressing further into the tunnels, we eventually end up in the hospital, which is full of the witch from Left 4 Dead. Everything is going pretty fine inside the hospital until they realize I'm not insured. They then try to evacuate me from the premises using forbidden demonic rituals. After making my way through the psych ward, I drop down into the cafeteria, where I am challenged by the traditional Idahoan cuisine. Traditionally, encounters with food in Idaho result in death. However, due to abusing the leveling system, I am armed with not only a grenade launcher, but also a space laser, allowing me to enjoy not only my meal, but the rest of my natural lifespan. Jokes aside, this room is actually the morgue, and each one of those cubbies is a slot for a dead body. Now, I know the American healthcare system isn't great, but damn. With lunch taken care of, a kind man directs you to where your cousin is staying, before he is attacked by an unknown force. Looks like a squirrel to me. You battle your way through the graveyard and then enter into the mausoleum. The mausoleum is full of either cultists or grandparents that forgot to take their meds. Either way, I'm not taking risks. You battle your way through the castle before coming upon the most obvious boss room I think I've ever seen in my life. The premise of the boss fight's pretty simple. To take down his barrier, you go around destroying the crystals. After the first round of this, he spawns in these light walls that damage you as you go on. And after finally defeating the Giga Chad cultist, you get to find your cousin. Ah, fuck. As you stand there, having lost your cousin and wasted all your PTO, you seek vengeance against the mayor and citizens of Boise. Speaking of the citizens of Boise, it looks like each and every one of them is in attendance. This is one of my favorite levels of the game. As you're running through, you can just see in the darkness the eyes of all the fucking cultists coming to kill you. This game's strong suit is definitely in its atmosphere, and so when it plays off of that in levels like this, it really fucking pays off. After escaping the townspeople, I find this cool basement that I get lost in for about an hour, before finally ending up in a factory. Side note about the last level, if that's not actually a hidden door, why the fuck do you make it look like that? I eventually come across a door to what seems to be a laboratory. Inside the laboratory, there's a lot of monsters in these little test tube things. Good thing they're stuck in there though, and they'll definitely stay in there. Right? Deeper into the lab, I find what appears to be the generator.
I switched off the machine. Let's get out of here.
Dear game developers, fuck off! You now get to go through the entire level backwards without the lights on, and surprise surprise, the enemies didn't stay in the fucking tube. It was around this point in the game where I realized I was dying a lot more often. and thusly came to the realization that maybe putting all of my points into my weapons and none of them into my skills was kind of a stupid idea. So I decided to redo my entire skill tree, finally putting some points into my powers, which included the aforementioned demon booth, some cigarettes that I can smoke to fucking slow down time, and a doll that essentially functions as a get the fuck off of me button. There's also a camera flash that stuns enemies, but I used that shit like 3 times, so who cares. Progressing a little further into the game, we end up in a completely underwater level, all leading up to a boss that I wouldn't have guessed in a million years. You got that right. Jokes aside though, this boss fight's actually pretty cool, because you have a rising water level going on that makes you jump from platform to platform as the one that you were just standing on sinks into the ocean. After a hard-fought battle, you finally fillet the fish. It is unclear what effect this will have on the trout population. After besting big fish, you find yourself on a shipping vessel, and after besting all the enemies topside, it's time to go below deck. What the fuck? I would like to speak with the interior decorator, please. I don't think this is what a ship is supposed to look like. As I was clearing an empty room deep into the ship, I forgot I was sitting in an empty Discord server. Hey. Hey, you just scared the shit out of me. 1 sec.
You deserve it. You fully deserve it for the type of person that you are.
As I progress further and further into the game, I start running into more and more ranged and eldritch-looking enemies. This is because the game takes a lot of inspiration from famous writer and renowned namer of cats, H.P. Lovecraft. Look it up. One thing I really love about this game is as you progress, reality is something that starts to matter less and less. So in the beginning of the game, you know, you're going through a hotel and the only thing you're really running into is stuff like zombies. But here, you're in a castle inside of a ship where you're fighting demon tentacle monsters while walking over a pool of blood. It's great to see the game taking advantage of and experimenting with its theme. The further into the ship you go, it becomes more and more like a dungeon, with booby traps and everything. Here comes a new enemy type. It's your mom. Zinger. Now, as far as this next part goes, if you want to know what it's like to play through it, simply go to your garage, find your father's workshop, and then place your testicles in the vice grip. The issue with this part is your bullets seem to have like a max effective range, but the enemy's projectiles don't. I'm not going to say it's poorly designed, because it isn't, I just don't like it. Whining aside though, I do love how the area looks. And it is cool to have some more experimenting fighting ranged enemies, as most of the game's encounters are rather close range. Plus, at the end of it, you get a really cool arena fight. After dicking around a little bit more in the mines, I encounter an enemy I found exactly once in my entire playthrough. I don't know what it is and why it has so much health, but it scared the shit out of me and I'm glad there's only one of them. After escaping the mines, you flip some switches in a dark room and run into objectively the best lead up to a boss fight in this entire game. A door opens leading you into this empty boss arena. You walk around it for a while as the music builds up, completely aimless and confused about what you're supposed to do, until the music hits its peak, and
Who's breathing behind my back?
boom, eldritch horrors beyond my comprehension. This thing is fucking fast and hard to hit. Once it enters its second phase, it spawns in a bunch of clones. Now initially I wasted a lot of time trying to kill every single one of them, till I noticed there was just one of the little fuckers running around without a secondary health bar. That's the one you have to actually take down to complete the fight. I missed almost every fucking bullet that I took into the arena with me, and I had to resort to the powers of marijuana to finally slay the beast. After finally defeating the glitch, I run into the crooks that are trying to take my hard-earned money to fix stupid shit like potholes. I have been advised by my legal team not to disclose what happened next. After dealing with the mayor, a mysterious old forgotten god tells me to open a big ominous door. Historically speaking, this is always a plus, and I should definitely proceed. But before I can appease the long-dead god, I first need to get through his funky fresh reality palace. I found myself carefully going through this maze section, and I didn't realize until far too late that once you grab the key off this pedestal, you activate this Indiana Jones-ass spike trap from the ceiling. So when I ended up attempting it a second time, I just threw all caution to the wind, didn't fight anything, and just sprinted my way through. And believe it or not, that worked infinitely better. You eventually leave reality completely. And after some parkour sections, which are a lot more forgiving than I would have thought, You put down the 4 gate worms to unlock the Pack-a-Punch. Wait, hold on. Yeah, sorry, that's my bad. This is definitely the wrong script. Yeah, sorry, so what actually happens is you just bump into fucking Cthulhu. The boss fight's a pretty basic bullet hell. There's no special trick to killing him, you actually just shoot him with your fucking guns. I don't really get how his plans for world domination are supposed to work out. He can't even beat some journalist with a Tommy gun. How the fuck is he gonna beat Lockheed Martin? You eventually take down the Elder God of Unspeakable Horrors, and everything is all good. Except you catch a minor case of demonic possession. And presumably he's going to use your body as a vessel to devour reality. But I mean, you know, c'est la vie or whatever. The important thing is I never paid my taxes, and I would rate this trip to Idaho 7 out of 10. I've had better, I've had worse.